Welcome back everyone. Today I'm going to be repotting these 3 beech trees as well as a Ginkgo American. Enjoy! So these beech trees, I picked these up from B&Q sometime last year I think. 3 in 1 pot, so again this is another one where there was, I picked it just for this one tree that it's the only one that I've actually wired out so far. Wired out some of the branches. Upon removing some soil I realised it had quite bad inverse taper. But I'm hoping to fix that later on when I come to repot it. Pot it a little bit deeper and hopefully some roots grow around that kind of point, and then eventually I can take the bottom of it off. As far as I know, beech trees don't air layer too well, otherwise I would look at that for an option. As the other 2 in this pot are terribly inverse tapered. But yeah, so this is the first one, so once you can obviously loosen up all the roots and then separate the trees, just go into more detail looking at what I can do around it. So that's the inverse tape you can see there, which is quite unsightly. These didn't grow great last year, and I believe it's because obviously there's 3 of them in 1 pot, right, and there's not much room for them to grow, as well as the actual soil that they're in. So, as I've said in previous videos, garden centre soil isn't great. So I'm just profile pruning, just trying to stop any roots that are growing downwards. Trying to just tidy up any thicker roots, but I don't go too far into the root pruning process on this one, just because obviously I'm hoping eventually I'll get some higher roots and then I can cut them bottom ones off anyway, so. And then as always, just filling it up with my mix of potting mix and perlite, so 50-50 mix roughly. On to the second one, so again, hideous roots, absolutely hideous roots. And the inverse taper again as I'm pointing out there, so. There was actually a big root at the top there which I cut off last year, so usually when I buy any kind of nursery tree, the first thing I do is scrape away some of it. Even at the shop sometimes as well, scrape away some of the soil just to try and see what the root base is like. But yeah, so when I first bought this one I scraped away some of the root base, and that's when I realised again about the big old thick root. I could have cut off the bottom of the tree and kept that big root, but then obviously that root isn't going to help me anyway. So again, this is another one that's going to be deep potted. And just fixing that in with a bit of wire there. I'm not really too fussed about this one and the third one, to be honest, but it's one of the things that, again, they're living right now, so I'm not just going to chuck them in the bin, I'll keep them for now. And who knows, maybe someday they'll be part of a forest or something else. Can always use them. And then the third one, which, although it's got one really ugly root, again, it was pushed up against the side of the pot, so all the roots are on one side. It's kind of a mimic of the last video I've done. But the root base is actually pretty good. I mean, it's got a lot of fine roots, a lot of feeder roots. So yeah, I'm just going to work my way through them roots and plot this one out. This one actually has the worst inverse taper of all. I really do need to get a proper root rake. A little plastic tool isn't helping me much. So this one, I've left some higher roots on. I'm looking to plant it at this angle here, and eventually I might try a root over rock, or to hide the inverse taper. I've seen it done where the root, the part that's inverse from the bottom, is kind of planted within a rock, or rocks put around it, so it looks like it's grown out of a rock, and then it hides that inverse taper as well. So something I might explore in the future. Tried to tie this one in as well, but it didn't have that many strong roots to actually hold it, so in a second I should be grabbing a rock, and I'll use the rock to kind of prop it up for now until obviously the root ball grows a bit stronger. So funny enough, these pots are actually Wagamama pots, so when you go to Wagamama for a takeout, these are the pots that they come in. Well, the old ones, they've got newer ones now. But yeah, these are the old Wagamama pots, which, yeah, I'll just cut a few holes into the bottom of them and put a screen in them. And then onto my Ginkgo American. So I'm pretty sure most of you would have heard of a Ginkgo by now, but the Mariken is like a dwarf version. They're not great for bonsai. They're so slow at growing. So there's one branch just poking out to the left here. That's the only thing that's grown on it in the 2 years that I've had it. Bear in mind this is actually planted on a rock, right? So the wire I'm taking off now is what was connecting it to a rock. And I noticed the whole time that it's connected, it's very loose. You can see it wobbling about there. At the time of doing this root over rock, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of thought I could plop it on a rock and it'd be all good. And as you can see, the soil kind of separates there, and there's not many roots growing down. Like, there is some new roots, so it's a good sign, but it really hasn't attached to the rock so far. So realise some of the issues. So there's a lot of fertiliser just sitting on the top as well. So I'd imagine that I've probably burnt some roots off with over fertilising it last year. As well as the soil mix that I was using was very dry. I think last year, I can't remember what I used, but I think it was more perlite. I don't believe it was John Innes, it was something else. It was more of a sandy mix. But obviously with the summers we have, that's probably dried it out, as well as being in an air pot. So I thought the air pot, well, the net pot would encourage roots to grow. But I believe these like a bit more of a wet situation. So I'm just investigating some of the roots around there, seeing how they're getting on. Just got to be careful when doing any kind of wires around roots. Obviously you don't want to rip roots out, especially on these. The roots are strange on these, they seem to be flat. There's a couple of species with some strange roots. So yeah, I'm just repositioning that wire. There's a couple of grab points, so I've hooked it round. Then I'm trying to get on top of the newer roots that are growing. Not like I want to squash the roots down, but it's just to hold the roots against the rock. And hopefully this will grow on. Once I found out how slow these Marikens were at growing, I kind of gave up on the idea of it actually being a bonsai, and this was more of a, I found this rock and I just thought, well, I might as well try something. So this is what I tried at the time. Obviously you can still see it wobbling around a little bit there. So I think for this year I'm going to try and pot it a little deeper, put it in a bigger pot, give it a bit more room. The old net pot was a bit restrictive, so the rock just about fit in there, so I feel like the roots didn't have much room to actually grow around the rock. Something deeper, hopefully the roots will go around underneath. And me just checking the soil in there. It's very dry, very not great. It's a new pot in the soil. And I've decided to put some mycorrhiza fungi in there, just to see if I can help the roots grow a bit more. So mycorrhiza is a fungi that helps break down nutrients within soils, and it basically helps the roots intake stuff, so that'll break down any kind of material to extract the nutrients, and then the roots can take up those nutrients. So used mostly for pines and coniferous species, but I thought I might as well give it a go on this one because I had a spare bag laying about. And I'm just backfilling it from there, so as I say, I'm going to pot it a little deeper this time, so the soil will actually come over the rock. And we'll try again for this year, just see how it gets on, see if it keeps on growing. And just to finish this one off, a little watering. Make sure that water's coming through the bottom of the pot. mulch down a bit of the table while I'm at it. Made an absolute mess. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again soon.